motionless like a still bird, floating in midair, flying across continents, oceans, islands, bays. Submerged in a pool of solitude, conceiving a new mission, visualizing only countries of white clouds sailing behind. Alien rum seems everything, gets acclimatized. Gradually, the air of dignified recognition. A huge rise, a gargantuan descent. However high man scales, he will look down sometime, someday, either sooner or later. Poem is called Spacecraft by apparently Greenpeace. Now, what exactly are you listening to, or what did you just hear
That's
right
what I
now?
want to know.
It's if the disembodied voice in the background also wishes to know this. So, for everybody who is not familiar with this, this is episode 176 of SG2 on Space, the only weekly space show. Of course, you can catch the show live at youtube.com/@shinga/streams. We also have later on, you can also catch audio episodes scrolling down here at that link down there. And obviously, thank you all to the supporters, and you can support the show patreon.com/SG2 on Space. But first, who is that disembodied voice in the background? This way.
Hey, Shen.
Hello.
Yeah, I can't figure out how to do this. No, it's
It's fine.
this
Don't
way.
worry about it.
Yeah.
It looks.
Hello.
You're always put on the right side, so it looks like it is you with your signature headband,
It's
or
my
a red
swag.
color one
Yeah.
this time.
Right.
That's great. And it's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yes,
How are you?
I've changed my location to be outside today. It's such a nice weather here.
Outside is good. Yeah, the weather has been nice, unusually nice in southeast Texas, where we are
For this
located.
time of the year,
Yes.
it's pretty rare. That's for
Right.
sure. So, with that said, you were the one who brought up this topic, and it's interesting because you used to work at Boeing. For anybody who knows, but with today's topic, we're going to talk. This is episode 176. Like I said, we're going to talk about the Boeing Starliner. So first of all, what is that?
What is that? So,
Yes, let's always start with that.
So we used to have the shuttle program for many years, and I lived all through that period. And the shuttle came to an end. It kind of outlived its lifetime, and the last flight was in 2011. But before it, and it gave access to of the United States to low Earth orbit and the International Space Station, which is still orbiting. Has a number of people. Space has been continuously occupied for, I guess 25 years now, something like
when you
that.
say space has been continuously occupied, you mean like there's always been somebody in space?
There has always been somebody in space
right.
for the past. We'll have to figure it out. Something like 25 years,
right?
Since the late 90s, and International Space Station has been operating. International Space Station itself is kind of getting close to the end of its lifetime, but the shuttle kind of ran its course, and we've had talks about that as well. But the United States had a notion that the only access that we had was through the Russian capability, which is very good. They have a Soyuz, which is a very well tested space transportation system, Soyuz, and the cargo carrier is called the Progress, and those are capsule concepts. The United States used to have Apollo, and actually in the 1960s and early 70s, there was a development program that went from Mercury, which was a single person crew capsule, then Gemini, which was two guys, and then Apollo. And Apollo had high altitude capability of getting all the way to the moon. But there was this need. There was a need for after Apollo, then we had the space shuttle. And the space shuttle came to an end in 2011. But the United States decided that they needed some transportation capability to get to the International Space Station, other than the Russian vehicle. when we were still kind of friends with Russia, they were very expensive, and that's what led to the development of these other approaches and several. So the idea was, in the old days, they used to do this thing called cost plus um, procurement, which means that the contractors like Boeing or McDonnell Douglas, Rockwell, would bid
Yes.
for these contracts, and then whatever the cost was, the risk was borne by NASA instead of the contractor, which is kind of not good, because it doesn't the incentive structure is to increase cost.
Is this? Well, I guess you get to that on whether this is based on cost plus structure.
So in the early 2000s, when in contemplating the end of the shuttle program, NASA decided that they would do this kind of uh, I don't exactly know what it's called, but it was like not cost plus, but just a bid. You would bid for the fixed cost of the services that you would render. And Boeing had a lot of was believed to be the leader in this field, and so
Right.
there was some other contenders, including some guy named Musk, or uh, a company called SpaceX, and a few others, Bigelow Aerospace, and I think there's another company that's uh, in the still in the field. So the idea was that we wanted some kind of vehicle, and it was a fixed cost contract for a commercial crew program. That's what NASA called it, and they wanted the different companies to bid on it, and you tell us how much you need, and we'll award the contract. It's all competitive, right? And so it came down to I you know before 2010, starting around 2010, NASA selected Boeing and SpaceX, and they gave Boeing something
Just
like
just two.
just yes. So in
Okay.
2010, starting in 2010, they selected SpaceX and Boeing, because
All right.
they wanted some redundancy. They wanted two
Yeah, that
vehicles,
makes
and
sense.
right, instead of just having all your eggs in one basket. Um, so Boeing's entry was a capsule approach that was kind of similar to the Apollo. It has the same kind of look to it.
I
I
mean,
think
the background picture here is depicting
yeah,
what it looks like.
yeah, and I think it's about 15 feet in diameter. It's going to launch on one of the well-known rockets. I'm not a real expert. Um, I, one of the rocket systems, but it's adapted to all of them. In fact, it could be adapted to fly on SpaceX's um, Falcon 9 that is used for the Crew Dragon. SpaceX's vehicle is called Crew Dragon.
Right.
But anyway, um, Boeing was given about $4.5 billion, something like that, something more than 4.5 billion dollars, and SpaceX was given something like 2.6 billion to develop their vehicles. Boeing was sort of the favorite because they had lots and lots of experience with different kinds of capsule approaches, and they contributed to a lot of the space development in that area. Um, but and actually, starting as early as 2011, they started to test various features of this, and what they arrived at was a crew capsule that could carry. Well, they were required to carry 4 astronauts, and Boeing kind of lobbied and got approval to put a fifth seat in there as a kind of optional uh, uh, an optional configuration. So the idea was that they could fly another passenger, or they could sell another seat to some other agency or another government, or maybe they would
Right.
sell a seat to NASA, right? So th- so um, so so CST, so Starliner, CST-100, also called Starliner, has the capability to carry 5 astronauts. But after the initial tests, they were planning on a launch in 2017, and then they were having problems. They started having issues with development of different aspects of this vehicle, and so it was pushed to 2018, and then there was further delays, and Boeing actually started losing money on this, and they had to kick in. Um, I can't remember now, but I think altogether Boeing has had to add an additional $750 million to the contract. In other words, because they can't get any more money from Boeing. I mean, from NASA.
From NASA, so they
now,
are actually spending their own money to.
So that's kind of good for the government, but it's not good as far as the pressure it puts on Boeing and the pressure to cut corners. And I surmise, but they have had a lot of problems with this vehicle. They finally got something ready by 2019, and if you remember, in December 20th of 2019, they launched, and they failed to they got to orbit, but they failed to dock with the station, which was not really wasn't required for them to complete. That wasn't really a requirement, but they were planning on docking with the station. They failed in that effort, and it had to do with software and scheduling. In other words, time scheduling of events, so that they ended up one of the timers, one of the time sequences was 11 hours different from what the mission clock said it should be. And so
how did that happen?
Well, this has to be a failure of integrated testing.
Yeah, I was thinking that this is something that you would have caught if you did any, but
And so there was an investigation, and that's what they determined. But they also came up with a bunch of other things that were near misses, and it had to do. I don't know the details of it, but it had to do with errors in the software that controlled the vehicle on approach to the space station. And I don't know precisely how serious it was, but it has been described in the public, in the press as had they approached space station, it would have caused loss of the vehicle. And whether it had a crew on there, whether they would have been lost, I don't know. But it was much more serious than. Eventually it came out at the end of the investigation that they really were not ready to fly, and they should not have flown it. So
there's something else coming, right? I'm just reading this article from Ars Technica, and it's like Boeing finds 2 serious problems with Starliner just weeks before launch. Well, that's a headline.
Well, so that's one of the things that made me want to talk about this was. They had another flight which was more successful, and they did successfully dock with the space station. But they also, so one of the other issues had to do with hardware and some corrosion that was inherent to, or that was occurring in some of these important thrusters that they use for maneuvering, and so apparently they had some very significant problems with that on the second test flight. And Boeing had to pay for that second test flight. So that was and so December of 2019, and then the second was, I think, in early 2020, or no, it was 21. I don't remember when it was in, but they had another flight no, it was in 22. They had a second flight, and this was their second orbital test flight.
Right.
And so that was not 100% successful either, and they never actually got to the bottom of it because the elements that failed were jettisoned with the service module. So the vehicle has a crew, kind of a reusable crew compartment or crew capsule, and then behind it is a service module which has some thrusters, and they dispose of those thrusters and put new ones on when it's refurbished. It's supposed to be a reusable vehicle. I think that's designed for 10 flights, and so. So they're going to fly again in I think July 21st, the next month, 2 months from now, and we'll see. I mean, NASA there are news reports that um, that there are what are described as quote emergent issues that need closure prior to launch. So that's what I had to say about Starliner.
Well, I mean, the two issues here that's discovered weeks before. So, the Boeing official said Thursday the company was standing down from an attempt to launch the Starliner spacecraft on July 21st. So they're not even going to do it.
Oh, that's brand new. That's
Yep.
like within hours. That must have come out.
That's June 1st, 2023, 5:55 p.m.
Okay, and what time is it now? It's 6:50.
So
that's
now maybe you can explain a little bit what this means, or rather maybe it's self-explanatory. So the two issues, the first issue involves soft links on the lines that run from Starliner to its parachutes. Boeing discovered that these were not strong as previously believed. So the substandard links would not be issued during a normal flight, but this system is designed to land a crew safely in case one of the three parachutes fails. However, due to the lower failure low limit with these soft links, if one parachute fails, it's possible lines between spacecraft and the remaining two parachutes will snap due to the extra strain.
Wow. I would say that's a very significant issue and a very, very important close call.
Second issue, P213 glass cloth tape wrapped around wiring harnesses throughout the vehicle. These cables run everywhere, and there's hundreds of feet of these. The tape is intended to protect the wiring from nicks. However, during recent tests, it was discovered under circumstances possible in flight, this tape is flammable. Doesn't sound good.
No, that doesn't sound good either. So I just don't. I mean, this is going to be many, many months, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
that has got to be very disappointing for the people involved. But these are the kind of things that should be caught, by the contractor. I mean, they shouldn't be, So I don't know what else to say. I don't want to.
Well, I was thinking like you got flammable tape going around, and you got a parachute line that could break. So
the parachute line sounds very sketchy to me. I just how you have to ask yourself, how does something like this occur? And I've said before about proprietary information and having life critical systems that are being developed with hardware and software that's not exposed. It's like it's hidden or secret, kind of proprietary secrets that are being used, and so that is the name of the game with these private efforts.
Right.
But NASA does have the authority to inspect, and they're kind of like a safety agency. But
I mean, the last week, I mean, according to this article, NASA's Aerospace Safety Advisory Panel urged NASA to bring independent experts to assess the viability.
Right. Well, that's kind of what I've been suggesting. But also for the airplane manufacturer, we could talk about 737, which was Boeing's the problem several years ago when they had some planes crash because of sensor using software to control life critical function. But I don't know what else to say about it. I would like for them to be successful with this, but it just seems like I want to say maybe they've lost their mojo. They don't have I don't, I don't know.
Is
Maybe
it is this the Starliner? Is it only meant for going to the low Earth orbit?
it's only for low Earth orbit. Okay, that
Okay,
NASA is also developing the Orion vehicle, and it actually, people don't know this, but it's actually
it's actually flown.
it flew last year on the on the Artemis. It's the Artemis part of the Artemis program, and that's a
Right.
wildly exciting thing. We're gonna go back to the moon, and so they're Orion is doing much better. SpaceX is doing well. SpaceX is up and running. They're delivering astronauts to the space station. Even
Uh,
though, yeah,
or for Orion, who's the primary contractor for that?
Lockheed Martin.
Okay, so is
Yep.
is Boeing working on anything other than the Starliner,
For space,
like new developments?
I don't know. So I just wanted to say something about it because it concerns me. Boeing got a lot more money. Okay, now it's true they have a bigger challenge because they have bigger engines, and NASA really does need them at station in order to. Well, it augments the ability to reboost space station. Space station needs to be reboosted every 6 months, 6 to 9 months, because it loses altitude on account of atmospheric drag, and
Right.
they do need it to be reboosted from time to time. That we also want to be independent from the Russians because the Russians have you know they're not very nice. Well,
That's
so
that's one way to put it. Um,
so
the Boeing website for space apparently they helping build like the space launch system.
oh well, they
Yeah.
are involved in that. That's true.
So there's that. And then obviously they're helping apparently building the gateway, the lunar gateway.
Yeah,
Um, which
we
I don't know when that's going to go up, but at some point.
I don't know.
And then Earth. What is Earth? Oh, I guess whether the space station, International Space Station, they
Right.
help build that. Yeah, and they built the space shuttles. So,
Well,
yeah,
Rockwell built the space shuttle, but Rockwell got absorbed by Boeing. So.
got absorbed by Boeing. Okay.
Yeah.
Funny how they could claim credit for that after they. Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh.
You know, but in any case, like so. Overall, I mean, if we look at this program, it definitely has not followed schedule or money and has not reached any kind of credence in terms of
there's a
safety.
chance. There's a chance. I don't know exactly what the thinking is at NASA, but there's a thinking they may want to scrap it and do something else. I don't know.
If they scrap it, aren't we just down to one crewed
Yeah.
capability for near space, at least? Yeah.
So there is another Sierra.
Nevada.
Yeah,
that's true.
So they have a vehicle which looks good. Their Dream Chaser. But I don't. They could start looking at that. We still have the Russian capability for now.
Yep. I mean, that's
and
just
SpaceX. What can I say? SpaceX delivers. They're up and running. They've already flown. I forgot now. 6 missions, 6 scheduled.
There's been quite a bit, that's for sure.
Yeah, and so that's all I had to say.
So, all right. That's all you got to say?
That's all I got to say. Don't you want to talk about? You usually want to talk about something else.
I normally do, don't I?
Yeah.
I wonder what that could be.
I don't know.
Tell me if you can hear this.
Okay.
Here, I'm gonna put this up.
Okay.
Let me see. I just find the title hilarious.
Russian what? What is that word? Oh, truckers.
Encounter landed UFO.
Uh-huh.
I don't. This just seems kind of absurd. So I haven't seen this video. I think it's just some guy narrating. So let me know if you can you hear this guy? Can you hear anything?
I hear something.
Huh?
Yeah, I hear him. I don't know.
When one of the drivers was welcomed aboard.
It's very soft.
In November 1989, the air temperature dropped very suddenly to below freezing. Professional Russian truck drivers, Oleg Kurlikov and his companion Nikolai Baranchaikov, were driving their truck from near the area of Arkhangelsk to Moscow. They were hurrying home to finish all the formalities related to their business trip before the holidays. In the vicinity of its railway station, the road was blocked by heaps of sand.
It's a robot voice.
The road in front of them
That's hilarious.
onto a dirt road to detour. On one bend in the road, the truck's headlights fell upon a huge structure which was standing off to the right of the road.
Which does not look like this picture, by the way.
Yeah.
I think it's just some random pictures here.
However,
looks like a picture of a Russian truck.
that in the headlights had a metallic sheen to it. When we got to within 80 to 90 feet of the object, our motor stalled and our truck coasted several feet further and stopped. The headlights that were connected to the backup power source were still on. My partner and I couldn't understand what had happened.
Thanks for watching our video, and be sure to subscribe to our channel.
Okay.
Wow. That it?
That was bizarre.
That was totally anticlimactic and not something which I would have thought that would be way more interesting if you're gonna have a title like that. That's so funny.
Russian truckers encounter UFO.
But I don't think I even fully hear. So that was not even completely actually what's the word? That story it wasn't finished.
It didn't seem like it. We were looking for
like
them, one of them to be
abruptly stopped.
Yeah, we were expecting
reason.
one of them to be, abducted and taken up, and then the space aliens would probe him. And
Why are the space aliens probing them?
I don't know. That's just what they do. And then and then they'll give you you have an opportunity to review their performance in a exit survey.
Let's see, where were we? Okay, so right here, right? I'm gonna be the narrator now, and you can imagine the scene in your head. So, all right, the headlights were connected, backup power source was still on. My partner and I couldn't understand what had happened. The road at this point had a bend in it, and trees on the right side of the road blocked our view of the object. We understood that we were seeing something very unusual in front of us, and we were afraid that something unavoidable would happen. Hence, I asked Nikolai to remain in the truck and observe events while I approached the object. I left the cab and decided to approach the object, examine it more closely. After I had passed the hood of the truck, I began to feel with each step I took an increased resistance from the air. My body seemed to melt. It became difficult to move, and I knew that if I got any closer to the object, I would not be able to move at all. Oleg turned back towards the truck and tried to approach the object from another direction. He moved carefully, stopping after each step. He felt the same constantly increasing resistance from the air. He succeeded in coming to within about 36 feet of the object. He stopped on the shoulder of the road, being examined very carefully. Very quickly, he came to the conclusion that this object was not of earthly origin. Truly, it was something very unusual. In front of Oleg, there stood a huge disc-shaped object, approximately 140 feet in diameter, with a dome-shaped top on which no other structures were visible. Along the perimeter, there were some dark holes evident, which Oleg at first thought were hull holes. Extending from the lower part of the object, there were two structures visible, which seemed to support the ship. Far edge of the disc was slightly elevated and was resting on some birch trees, too, which were broken. The object was dark and uninhabited, and there were no traces. Okay, blah, blah, blah. All these questions flooded his mind. And in that very moment, in front of him, at a distance of an outstretched hand, right in the air, appeared a glimmering red dotted line. This line formed a transparent, square-shaped screen, 150 millimeters by 100. That's pretty precise right there.
Yeah.
Inside, with rounded corners. Several words written in red letters appeared on the screen. Oleg did not remember the exact phrase, but the essence of the phrase was a request for burning fire.
Wow.
Wow. Okay.
This sounds like some kind of like.
Okay, this is a lot more.
Yeah. Like a Marty Robbins song, like the.
Okay, I'm skipping a bunch of this.
West Texas.
Where is this? Okay, so there was a mass that slid down the shaft line, increasing in size, approached the fire, burning leaves. I was paralyzed by fear. The mass stood by the fire for a moment, and they began to return to the object, taking with us the box of matches, returning along the same path. The mass disappeared in the corridor together with the box of matches. What is going on here?
I don't know.
I
I
don't
think
know.
it looks like the makings of like a song. You know, like
This one seems like a song. I went along the corridor toward the shimmering light and felt that I was walking on flat metallic floor.
yeah, that was something like the Eagles would sing. You know,
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Hotel California or something.
This is a very long story.
Yeah.
Okay, so here it is. So finally, then they got in the ship somehow, right? So I asked, "What kind of ship am I on now? What kind of propulsion system do you use to make it fly?" In response, I was told that this spacecraft was a scout ship and used electromagnetic fields to fly. I was also
Sure.
told that they were studying our planet, which they needed as a springboard to the future. In response to my question, "Do you have any connection with Bigfoot?" They said yes, and added that they watched Bigfoot continuously. As I was asking question after question, I suddenly noticed that third mass that appeared in the hall, and then fourth, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Is it okay? Anyway, that's is it possible to see you again? They said if you're in danger, we'll find you within 15 seconds. Backing out a few steps from the hall, I turned to walk, went along the corridor towards the opening. As I came up with the opening of the spacecraft, I took hold of the tube by my right hand. I immediately found myself standing on the ground. Okay, blah blah blah.
Yeah, blah blah blah. It's like, yep,
Yeah.
it's definitely
Wow.
a Russian trucker story.
Okay, so who wrote this? The author was Dr. Valery Mikhailovich Orvarov, head of
the
Department of
UFO Research. Boy, I bet they have a lot of
and paleotechnology of the National Security Academy of Russia.
I bet there's no such thing.
And has devoted more than 14 years to ufology, as well as the study of the legacy of ancient civilizations.
Yeah, so somebody.
I don't know. It could be a real thing.
Somebody pays him to do all that. So this is in Nexus magazine.
Which I'm gonna guess it's a magazine for ufologists.
Ufology. So
I mean, yeah.
So I don't know what to say about that. It sounds pretty like someone's wild imagination run wild, and
I mean, with a title like that sounds pretty. I don't know, like being like the Department of UFO Research, right? Paleosciences and paleotechnology. I don't even know what that means, but
paleosciences, meaning paleo means ancient, almost like Stone Age science. Paleoarchaeology would be archaeology of things that, or no, paleotechnology. That's what that is. Paleotechnology would be technology from ancient times. So maybe, like an ancient civilization, the way that we ought to talk about Graham Hancock sometime.
What is that?
Oh, he's a guy that thinks that he's written a lot about ancient civilizations, the existence of civilizations that predate by tens of thousands of years the human civilization, and pre-Ice Age cultures or cities that existed before the Ice Age. And that
what's his name?
Graham Hancock.
Okay,
you got the internet. Look him
I'm
up.
pretty sure I've heard of him. That's funny.
And he's not really mainstream, but he does seem to get on a lot of does get a lot of attention. That
I mean, you don't.
What's the show? Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan.
Yeah. So Joe Rogan interviewed him.
I know Joe Rogan apparently did something, and I don't know what it is, that has gotten him dissed or silenced or canceled. I don't know what he did, but whatever it is, I don't approve of it. Whatever Joe Rogan did that got him canceled, well, I don't approve of it, and I'd just like to assign that to a footnote. And then okay. But Joe Rogan did have this guy Graham Hancock on, and it was pretty interesting. So although Joe Rogan did do something that I don't know what it is that got him canceled, and I don't approve of what Joe Rogan did that got him canceled, because I just don't want to be part of that. But,
yeah, understood.
Yeah.
Well, this guy was interviewed by Joe Rogan, but he was also interviewed. Oh yeah, like he he's part of the or maybe somebody's like the
Okay.
I don't know,
So,
ancient apocalypse and all that
so,
stuff.
so there actually is an archaeological site in Turkey called Göbekli Tepe.
Uh-huh.
Okay, it means like a pot hill or something like that, and it's thought to be 11,000 years old, and it's got sculptures and looks like some kind of temple complex. It's a very interesting thing, but but it really predates almost anything that we've ever seen as far as structures. It predates by thousands of years the Stonehenge or the pyramids in Egypt.
It
So
is interesting. I mean, I think our conception of how ancient civilizations are could go back a few thousand years, but it doesn't mean
well, I
that.
mean, so he makes much of it, that humans hadn't even they don't. It's not even believed that humans had invented agriculture at that point. So the people that built this extravagant temple with columns and sculptures and pictures of birds and strange lizards and animals on it were hunter gatherers, and so it's just thought that maybe there wasn't enough time to be, people who are hunter gatherers were not really thought to have that capability, but evidently they did. So or they're they got instructions from the aliens that came down and told them how to.
Well,
I don't know.
was there a possibility that they actually did grow plants and then it just, I don't know, like
I think
the civilization died?
everything's open. I mean, I
So,
think personally, I think it's quite likely that hunter gatherers were able to get together and build a thing. If there was plenty of game, and or it's perfectly possible that agriculture was discovered earlier than we thought.
right.
So
Now, what you find far fetched is when a guy like Graham Hancock goes and talks about aliens.
well,
bringing
I'm not so
technology.
sure he talks about aliens per se, but he does talk about like civilizations with advanced technology, electricity, or
Right. Like the
yeah,
ability to do podcasts.
yeah,
And
yeah, and that I don't think that's a reasonable kind of thing. So,
huh,
um,
okay,
but he
I hear what you're saying.
he does seem to have an audience, and so
I mean, of course. I feel like we went kind of in a big tangent here,
that's all
sort of.
right. It's just a conversation. There's another guy named Bob Lazar. Have you ever heard of him?
Yes, definitely.
Lazar.
We're gonna talk about him at some point.
Yeah, maybe we should talk about him next week. Bob Lazar. So Bob Lazar is a guy that he says that he worked in Area 51 on the recovered spacecraft from the 1947 event that and that there were he worked on the on that, and that he's been sort of persecuted by the government. What is this?
Yep.
What are we looking at? Is this?
Well, we gotta go, Leonard. So we
Oh,
gotta end the show. So I figured I might as well put up some creepy alien ambiance in the
well,
background.
that sure is a creepy alien thing.
All
Looks like
right,
a big
with that,
zeppelin.
everybody, this has been SG2 on Space. Remember, you can support the show on patreon.com/SG2 on Space, and realize you can watch, listen, to the audio episodes on podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/SG2 on Space. And with that, thank you to our supporters once again, Kyle Baker, Sam Welsh, and my longtime producer, Atum Rod, who helped us for 2 years. So, all right, with that, I would gotta say the famous words. Look up because you never know what you will see. See you all next week. Namaste. And Leonard will do his thing.
Go. Good night. Mwah.
There we go.